Joining us now to review some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Arise News analyst Emmanuel Emefiele. Great Malabite, good morning.
Good morning, Ruben. Good morning, Rufai.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, let's start the review with this day, Nigeria's newspaper of record. The lead story, Emefiele, rise in disruptive banking technologies, disturbing, says deposit-taking fintechs must be capitalized with 25 billion naira. Curtail potential threats from financial technologies company, others, Ahmed, charges regulators. Banking crisis may have contagion effect, NDIC warns. World Bank, Nigeria's economic growth continues to suffer from underperforming oil sector. Hails country's apex bank's interventions lowers GDP projections to 33%. NMPCL, oil theft, vandalism putting Nigeria in terrible situation, advocates capital punishment for offenders, justifies engagement of non-state actors in pipeline surveillance contract. Yes, the lead story there, Emefiele, on the rise of what he called disruptive banking technologies is disturbing. Well, the fintech subsector in the financial sector has been in the upswing, growing and doing great business, attracting investment. I thought, of course, there is a regulatory framework for that subsector in the financial services sector. And well, the CBN governor raising this alarm. I hope that will not deter people who want to invest in this space, because that space is attractive. It has been argued that one of the reasons why a number of big banks are going to the holdco format is to be able to partake and participate in this fintech business, which has been thriving in our country for some time now. And I think it needs to be encouraged. Since there's a regulatory framework, the regulators should just ensure that these fintech companies play within the rules that is governing that space already. Now, there's a story in the front page of this day that caught my attention, just beside the photograph. Aisha Buhari, my husband suffered from PTSD for many years. And I took time to read that story. Ruben, it will interest you too. And it will interest most people around, but I have a reason for bringing up that story. The First Lady Aisha Buhari, yesterday disclosed that President Muhammadu Buhari, unknown to many people, suffered post-traumatic stress disorder for many years following his involvement in Nigerian civil war without rehabilitation, his overthrow as military head of state, and subsequent detention for 40 months without being charged with any offense. Aisha said Buhari's loss of 3 consecutive elections further complicated the situation she was confronted with at 19 when she married him, and therefore became the unintended physiotherapist for his recovery. Now, I hope anybody, older men who are having this kind of disorder will not start looking for teenagers as wife to be their 9th nurse. But what actually made me to look at this story carefully, he talked about the 40 months President Buhari suffered, where he was in detention after he was overthrown as military head of state. But do you also remember, Ruben, when the Buhari junta overthrew the Shagari administration, what happened to those governors?
I'm sure they suffered PTSDs too.
Ambrose Ali.
Yes.
Bisi Onabanjo.
Yes.
Apa Aku.
Yes.
Jimobodo. Samumbaku and others. In fact, Ambrose Ali died Bisi Onabanjo died.
I'm sure
Akpagbu
Kola
died.
was alive. He to tell the story.
Because many of them were thrown into detention, taken before military tribunals, given long years, and with the benefit of hindsight, if you go to Ekpoma today, the only thing you will see in the name of Ambrose Ali is the university. You won't see a mansion. If you go to Ogun State, and both of you can confirm that, you won't see any palatial residence in the name of Bisi Onabanjo. What you see in his memory is a university set up. So those men must have suffered more than whatever
Traumatic stress
disorder. So,
okay, can I comment on this?
Yes.
I think it's not about, what people acquired or did not acquire. It's about the importance of mental health.
Yes.
And I think it's important that the POA, the group called the POA, which is one point that was well made by Mrs. Aisha Buhari. The POA is the Association of Army Officers and Police, Police Officers' Wives Association. Right? Okay, so the POA. So under Mrs. Irabo, the wife of the
Chief of Defense
Staff, you now have this post-traumatic disorder center that has been set up. And Mrs. Aisha Buhari, having been invited, stressed the point that indeed, when people go to war or they suffer physical injuries, there are hospitals that you can take them to. But the injury can be at another level. It can be an injury of the mind. It can be a mental health crisis. And I think on that score, you cannot falter. And second, she used her own example to say that, look, she got married at 19. Please note, 19. If she had said 17, that would have been an issue. That would have turned into a big issue.
Yes,
but she got married
at 19
after crossing the age of maturity. And she said she had this man who had been head of state, who had suffered the coup plot, who had been head of state for 20 months, but had spent 40 months in detention. And that turned her into a physiotherapist. And she made the point that being a woman even complicated the matter. How do you tell a man who had been head of state that he was wrong? Okay, so at another level, it was also a confession of the trauma or stress that she herself has gone through. You know what they say is that if you are taking care of a man who is depressed, in fact, you suffer more because it will be two of you. Okay, but she also sounded a note of happiness that yes, well, at the end of the day, after trying to be president many times, the man eventually succeeded. We hope that now that President Buhari is leaving, that there will be no post-traumatic stress disorder anymore, having achieved his dream.
So she's been a very good physiotherapist.
Yeah. So the final point to also make is that look, that mental health facility, that it will be put to good use, not just by the military wives who are having issues with their husbands, but also by the police wives association. Indeed, in the military, they say that the woman has a higher rank than the husband because they go through a lot. Their husbands die. In the police, for example, they are treated badly. They are asked to even leave the police barracks. Entitlements are not paid. So
not paid on time.
Well, sometimes not even paid. So it's possible to understand where Mrs. Aisha Buhari is coming from. So the facility is a good one. It's a good idea. But you should also draw attention of others to how mental health, stress disorder is a major issue in this environment. There are some men too who are not in the military, who did not aspire to be policemen, whose wives are struggling with the stress that we go through. The major stress of empty pockets, and the stress of disappointment that the mismanagement of the economy has imposed on us. So it's a praise song in a regard to women and also to wives, long-suffering wives, who have to babysit people like you.
I mean, the truth, Dr. Bati, mental health is big deal.
So
and that's why we should all take mental health seriously in this country. And we should be aware of our mental health. But you see, when you look at it, I'm sure if you were to ask most Nigerians, they are suffering post-traumatic stress disorder of the economic malaise in the country, of the killings, of the kidnappings and the banditry. We here in the media, we are suffering traumas, having to report dastardly things going on. And that's why we beg politicians. The hardship is enough on people. Just do them right. And that's why people too. Elections matter in 2023. It has to be said. Your vote has consequences.
Go there and cast your vote for who you want to be your next president. Now, let's look at other stories. Yes, the ASU story. The Guardian newspaper reporting that story. Strike. Federal government weakens ASU, registers rival unions. Gbajabiamila presents ASU's recommendations to Buhari. Another meeting tomorrow for final outcome. NASU, SANU members receive September salaries. Federal government silent on outstanding wages. Government may pay outstanding salaries of new unions. Konwa, we are committed to advancement of varsity education. I will not dignify Konwa with a response, says ASU president. Yes, that's ASU president. He has a way of being snobbish. He was the one who referred to state universities as quack universities the other day, forgetting that his colleagues, professors, are the ones teaching there. Buhari, ASU, complicit in varsities corruption. Other newspapers reporting this story, yes. The Daily Trust newspaper strike. Federal government registers another union to checkmate ASU. Konwa has no members, exists only in OAU. Lecturers mock government. Unions complicit in corruption in Ivory Tower, says Buhari. Corruption will soon kill education sector. Jega wants. Well, the registration of 2 new unions. Konwa, yes, the
coalition.
Yes, the
Nigerian Universities Academics.
Congress of Nigerian University Academics. And they are describing them here as a breakaway of ASU, and of course the Nigerian Association of Medical and Dental Lecturers in Academics, NAMDA. Now, the timing, because in fairness to Konwa, they've been angling for registration all this while.
Since 2018.
Since 2018. So it's not because of this strike. They just put themselves together. And they have a different approach to bringing sanity to the Ivory Tower. And I don't think ASU should lose sleep over this. Because what is the Ivory Tower if you don't have multiplicity of ideas, whether it is in unionism or intellectual matters? So, Konwa, one more union in the Ivory Tower, and I don't think anybody should lose sleep about that. And I don't, perhaps the timing is what, of course, government has a way of making these mistakes. Plurality of ideas, of unions, to me, is a welcome development, so that there will be contestation of ideas, even when you want to go on strike. Even how to make the university system better. ASU should not be the ones who have the monopoly. There are many lecturers, even within ASU, who don't agree with the way the union is being run. Perhaps those ones will go and seek solace in Konwa. So, Ruben Rufai, to me, it is a welcome development that there are other unions, perhaps the timing, but the activities we're not seeing.
I raised a point earlier about the idea of the university, which I think is the original point. You know, there's too much politics now in Nigeria's public universities. What are these universities created for? Okay, is it about politics? Is it about, you know, multiplicity of unions? Even when you can make a case for the freedom of association. That is the bottom line. Okay? Are we going to start having Konwa graduates, ASU graduates, NAMDA graduates?
No, I don't think it affects the students.
No, it will affect the students. Why? Because if Konwa goes back to the classroom, you know, ASU lecturers say they are not going back. The disruption in the university in itself is the problem that we should begin to worry about, not to talk about, because we're already talking about it. But the producer is already screaming that we need to go. Emmanuel Emefiele,
there'll be more time to discuss this.
Yeah, there will be tomorrow. I'm sure there will be more reactions to the story.